Can you take a one-size-fits-all approach to how often you should be washing every garment that you own? The answer is no. There is a science behind laundry and how often you should be washing certain things. And in this video, I want to give you a comprehensive overview of how often you should be washing all the things that you wear. That way you maximize your hygiene, but you also maximize the life of the garment. Let's go. Over the past 2 years, I've had access to laundry laboratories, working with scientists to learn not only about how detergents work, but how washers and dryers work, how water affects our laundry, cold, hot, hard, soft, and how our garments react in water as well. So this isn't something I'm just rolling off the top of my head. This is science-backed, this is research and information-backed, and I'm just sharing it with you. At home, your clothing probably consists of a mix of cotton, cotton blend, nylon or synthetics, wool, heavy-duty fabrics like linen and denim, and then of course your home textiles like towels and sheets. Of course, if you have a specialty item, the fabric care label is always going to guide the way. And once you take into consideration these different fabrics and their general requirements, it'll be very easy for you to know as soon as you strip an item of clothing off when you should launder it or when you should hang it back up or put it back in the drawer. Now, of course, there are rules about the type of fabric and how frequently you should be washing that, and of course, what the garment is being worn for. For example, a soccer jersey should be washed more frequently than a blazer for obvious reasons. But further to that point, how close a garment is to your body will also dictate how frequently it should be washed. The closer that layer is to your skin, the more frequently you'll want to wash it. So any undergarments definitely need to be washed every single time. But something like jeans or a top, if there's an undershirt being worn, those can wait 1 or 2 washes. And this is because our body sheds a number of different things that can build up in our fabrics, causing them to look and feel kind of gross, and of course smell. And this includes sebum, dead skin cells, and sweat. Now, it's all too easy to get caught up and completely confused in the laundry aisle when you're trying to pick a detergent and any other products that you want to add into your laundry mix. But for me, the most important things, my clothes get clean, they are stain-free, and they don't smell. So the way that I like to do my laundry is using a gentle but effective detergent, and I use Tide Hygienic Clean. This is not sponsored. And I also use a fabric rinse, which I have found to be extraordinary when it comes to removing odors. Honestly, you can put the stinkiest stuff in the wash and rinse and refresh gets them smelling clean and fresh. It's an amazing product. Again, not sponsored, just a huge fan. So that's what I've been using. Some people like to add in scent beads. Some people like to use fabric softeners. Some people like to use dryer sheets. Whatever you love in terms of your laundry routine, I really want you to think about what the outcomes are that you desire for laundry. And then you can start with that and let that dictate the products that you use during your laundry routine. So now that you have a good general education and understanding of how laundry works and how frequently things should be washed, let's get into specifics. And we're going to kick things off with t-shirts and tops. So these would be items that you wear directly on your body without any undershirt underneath. So what does this tell you? That your core, your back, your tummy, your chest, your armpits are all going to be excreting dead skin cells, body oil, and sweat onto these garments, and it's going to be absorbed. Now, if you're just wearing, a t-shirt under a little leather jacket and you're going out for coffee and you come home, the t-shirt might be clean, and in that case, you can take it off. What I always do is a little sniff test. I check the armpit, and if it smells, it goes in the laundry. And if it doesn't, I let it air out, because you never want to put something sweaty back into your drawer, and then the next morning I will fold it up and put it away. Generally speaking, t-shirts and tops that touch your body should be washed every 1 to 2 washes. Now here's a highly contentious laundry topic: denim. How frequently should we be washing our denim, and can we wash it by putting it in the freezer? Let me just cover this off for you real quick. First of all, the freezer does not wash or clean anything. I don't care how much money you've paid for your jeans. The freezer is not going to get rid of odors. It's not going to get rid of stains, dead skin cells, body oil, or sweat. Generally, you want to wash your jeans every 4 to 5 wears, or if they look dirty, or smell dirty, you would want to wash them then and there. If you're someone who really cares about maintaining the color of your denim, you'll want to turn it inside out, and you can even consider putting it into a delicates bag, a large one, so that it doesn't really rub against anything else. This will help to preserve the dye. Now, I don't put my jeans in the dryer. I always hang them to dry because, let's be honest, we've all been there when that moment arrives when you put your jeans on and you're like, girl, I gotta stretch out the waistband of my jeans, and then you do the jean dance. I don't like doing the jean dance, so I hang my jeans to dry. And I also wash them in cold water to prevent any shrinkage. Now, here's one that feels, in the core of my being, it feels obvious, but I'm just gonna say it because I really need you to know. It's underwear. Underwear needs to be washed every single day. One wear, you're done. If you take a shower and you take your underwear off, which I hope you do, your underwear does not go back on after that. Unless you're like, doing the walk of shame and you forgot an extra pair of underwear, in which case, okay, we'll see past it. But generally, you want to wash that underwear after one use. Don't question it. Things build up on your underwear. You want to clean it so that you're maintaining your personal hygiene. And moving right along, let's talk about socks, which fall into roughly the same category as underwear. Whether it is a full cotton sock, something with a bit of a stretch, or a fully synthetic sock, they still need to be washed every day. Feet get sweaty, they live in shoes, damp, dark environments, they get smelly. God only knows what's on the bottom of your sock after walking around a house for a few hours, especially if you have pets or kids. Just do yourself a favor, peel your socks off, throw them in the wash after every wear. Now, bras aren't quite underwear, but they're not quite t-shirt. But when you wear a bra, things get sweaty and it's right by your armpit. So you want to consider washing your bras every 2 to 3 wears. And you want to give them at least a day to breathe between your wears. When I wash my bras, I put them into a garment bag and I wash them with the correct color load, which they belong to. Sweater. Think about the name. Sweater. Sweater. You are sweating in the sweater, especially if you start getting hot in a turtleneck. What you want to keep in mind is if you're wearing a garment under your sweater, which I am not, but let's say I was wearing a t-shirt under this, that would provide a buffer. The t-shirt would be picking up anything that my body is shedding, so the sweater, at least on the inside, wouldn't get dirty. And I can be relatively confident that the underarm area wouldn't smell. But if I were at a store or a restaurant that was really smelly, or if someone threw up on my arm, well, of course I'd have to wash it. So take that into consideration when it comes to your sweater. The next thing you want to take into consideration is the material that your sweater is made out of. For something like a wool or a cashmere, you can typically stretch between washes a little bit more, but then when you wash it, you want to make sure that you're following those fabric care label instructions. For something that's like a poly blend, like this type of sweater, I would wash it inside out in a laundry bag, and I would probably do this every 2 wears because I'm very particular about my clothes smelling fresh and clean. And when it comes to a cotton sweater, like a chunky knit cotton sweater, I'm pretty much in the same boat. I'll wash it every 2 wears or so, but if it's smelly for whatever reason, it'll get washed immediately after wear. Dress shirts and blouses. These are either worn out to look kind of nice and fancy, or they are worn in a professional setting, which should give you a clue, and that is they should be washed after every wear. They are close to your body. Even if you wear like a tank top under them, as some men would, the tank top is not going to protect the armpit area. So really, you want these cleaned after every wear so that they smell fresh. If you're laundering them, gentle detergent, Downy Rinse and Refresh would be really great for those. But you can also take them to be dry cleaned if you're someone that's really into that starch and press look. Now, when it comes to the rest of business attire or more formal daytime attire, like blazers and dress pants, again, you can stretch these depending on what you're wearing underneath. Like if you're wearing a woman and you're wearing like a tube top and a blazer, the armpit might smell. So you're probably going to want to take care of that. But if you're wearing it with something underneath, you can probably stretch the amount of time between having to dry clean your blazer. If you have a steamer or something like the LG Styler, the steam closet, you can pop your blazer and or your dress pants in there to refresh them and give them a nice press. This will help to release wrinkles and get rid of odors. It's a really nice way to stretch out the length of a dry cleaning service, if you will, on these garments. Typically speaking, I will launder mine or dry clean them every 5, 6, 7 wears. But I really use the sniff test, and I also look for stains. For dresses, if it's a daytime dress, I will typically launder it after one wear because it's pretty much the only thing I'm wearing. I'm not wearing any, t-shirt or undergarment aside from my regular undergarments underneath. So you're gonna treat it as a garment that sits close to your body, launder it after every wear. When it comes to a formal piece of clothing, like a suit or a gown, this is something where you wanna do a visual inspection. Listen, not all gowns, like if they have sequins or appliques, need to be washed after every wear, especially if they don't smell or they're not dirty. But if you were really partying and the dress looks or smells bad, that would be the time that you would want to take it to a dry cleaner and consider inspecting your garment once you take it off so that you don't let stains or odor sit for too long. When it comes to a suit, you can definitely stretch the amount of time that you wash it between wears, but again, you want to make sure there are no visible stains or that it's not super smelly so that the next time you need it, you're not left in a pinch. I am proud to say I go to the gym 3 times a week, and when I come home, the first thing I want to do is take off my sweaty, disgusting workout gear. No, I don't even shower at my gym. I just want to come home and do all of that. But here's the thing, your workout gear must be cleaned after every wear because your sweat sits into the garment, especially if you have moisture wicking garments. Their job is to sort of absorb and release moisture, but a lot of residue gets left behind, that sweat, that sebum, those dead skin cells. Now, the other thing people forget to do is they forget to air dry their gym clothes before they put them into their hamper, and that makes them particularly stinky. So I always leave my clothes out kind of on the bathroom floor. I let them air dry for a few hours, and then I put them in the hamper. I wash these with gentle detergent, no fabric softener, cold water, and Downy Rinse and Refresh, which pummels the odor. Jackets, coats, and outerwear need to be washed seasonally or more frequently depending on the type of activities that you're doing while you're wearing them. So for example, if you're a skier, snowboarder, someone who's doing a lot of outdoor activities, you will want to read the fabric care label and launder those garments accordingly when they look visibly dirty. And because I am not one of those outdoorsy winter types, I wouldn't know the frequency, but I can venture to guess if you're falling on your behind a couple of times or you get on your knees, you might have some mud stains, and you'll definitely want to take care of those as they happen. So when I've done research, the manufacturers of these kind of outdoor technical gear manufacturers want you to launder your garments using cold water, regular detergent on a synthetic cycle, which is gentler than a normal cycle. You will also want to empty pockets, turn the garment inside out, zip up zippers, clip up clips, do up buttons, and make sure that the pockets are empty. Then you'll want to add some plastic dryer balls to the washing machine. Does this sound crazy? Just you wait. The reason you're doing this is because whether it's down-filled or poly-filled, that material tends to be more absorbent. So it's going to absorb more water, it's going to absorb more detergent. So the dryer balls kind of help to knock that out during the wash process. The second thing you're going to do is add an additional rinse and spin cycle. This is going to help get that moisture, get that soap out of your garments. Once that's done, you'll have to check the fabric care label, but you want to dry it on a similar temperature, that low medium temperature. This is going to make sure that it doesn't ruin any of the waterproofing exterior. And for down-filled items, you're going to want to run that through several times, maybe even 3 or 4 loads. And for both poly-filled or down-filled, you're going to want to take those dryer balls into the dryer as well. The reason you need to do additional cycles for a down-filled garment is because feathers require more work to fluff them back up and build that loft. The other thing you can do if you're just a regular old guy like me who walks around outside with a winter jacket on is take a dampened microfiber cloth and just wipe off any dirt or salt as you see it. For hats, gloves, and scarves, you'll want to wash these every couple of weeks. They tend to get really dirty during the winter season. The way I like to wash mine is I flip them inside out, put them into a delicates bag, and throw them into the wash. Cold water, regular detergent. Once that's done, I can typically put it in the dryer. If not, if I'm worried about the type of material, I can just lay it flat to dry. Now, if this is kids' gear we're talking about, kids tend to get their winter stuff pretty dirty. So you can launder those once a week using the same techniques. I talk about that funky bedroom smell, and not in a good way. When someone hasn't washed their sheets in a while, you can really smell the sweat building up in those sheets. So what is advisable, especially if you're someone who sweats heavily in their sleep, is to launder your linens once a week. That goes for pillowcases, your flat sheet, and your fitted sheet. Now your duvet, your comforter, your duvet cover, that doesn't need to be washed as frequently. It's more the stuff that's directly touching your body and absorbing sweat. If you stretch it past 2 weeks, you're really gonna notice that funky bedroom smell. And trust me, you might not notice it, but other people will, and it's not pleasant. When it comes to duvet covers, comforters, and duvets, there are different approaches that you can take. A duvet cover should be washed more frequently because it's technically easier to wash than a comforter or a duvet. You remove it. I mean, it is a bit of a pain to remove and replace, but it's easier than stuffing a giant thing in the wash and having it dry. So you can wash this every month or two. For your comforter or your duvet, you can wash that every 3 to 4 months. Now, if your machine isn't a full capacity machine like this one, you might want to consider taking it to a laundromat or to a dry cleaner to get the job done. Now that you know how frequently to wash certain garments, I just want to give you some other laundry tips to stick in your back pocket, your clean jean back pocket. First, launder in cold water. Now I know people do not believe this to be true, but using cold water is a safe and effective way to clean your clothes and get them as clean as you need them to be. What's really important here is that you're using a good quality detergent. That is going to help, plus the physical action of your garments rubbing together, get rid of all the dirt, germs, bacteria, and odors that you are concerned about. Now, there are certain circumstances, for example, if you work in a medical environment, or if someone is sick, or if you were doing a ton of gardening, where you might want to consider using hot water or a laundry disinfectant, but those instances are few and far between. Cold water can handle the majority of stuff that you need to wash on a regular basis. Plus, cold water is better for the environment and it is gentler on your clothing. So it actually prolongs the life of your clothing and preserves the way that your garments look and feel. If you're worried about your garments stretching out or getting pilly, what you can consider doing is putting them inside out inside a delicates bag. So anytime I wash a sweater like this, that's what I do because I don't like the look of pilling. Putting it inside out and separating it in a garment bag allows it to still flip and flop around and get clean, but it doesn't expose it to the friction that's created in the wash. Some folks overload their washing machine because they just want to get the load of laundry done, but overloading the machine can be detrimental to you because too much in the machine doesn't allow the drum to spin, whether it's a front load or a top load. Too much is no good. Plus, it's really hard to know how to effectively dose detergent. And if you're using something like a detergent pack, it will have a really hard time breaking down if there's nowhere for anything to flip or flop inside the washing machine. Now, I've talked about this item for years, and it is a laundry tri-sorter, and I separate my lights, my colors, and my darks. That way, I don't have any dye transfer when I'm doing my laundry. I just had this happen with a pair of red sweatpants because I had a mixed load of colors. I put in this fresh new pair of red sweatpants, and I started to notice a red tinge in the rest of the load. So a couple things to keep in mind here. First, separating your garments, really important so that you don't get sort of that grayish tinge or sort of that reddish tinge to all of your garments. Second, if you have a new garment, particularly if it's red or a red-based color, red, as I know from being in a textile business, bleeds, especially at the beginning. So you want to wash that garment separately. I was lazy and I didn't, and I did pay the price. One other thing you'll want to separate out are fabric weights. So I'm not saying you have to get out a scale and do some math, but generally speaking, if you got heavier stuff like towels, you want to separate those from your lighter stuff like t-shirts. The friction that's caused between a heavy item like a towel versus a light garment like a t-shirt creates pilling on the light garment and just ages it and makes it look older and more tired. So separate your garments, you won't have that issue. So now you know everything there is to know about laundry. Just kidding, but you're a little better educated for it, and I'm really glad for that because you're gonna have an easier time doing your laundry and your clothes are gonna look, smell, and feel better, and that's what counts. And I'd love to know in the comments down below, are you someone who separates your garments into color categories, lights, colors, and darks? Or are you someone that just clumps it all together and does not care? Now, I have friends who are in the cleaning space who do not separate their clothing. I think they're absolutely crazy, and they think I'm crazy for separating. So it's really a hotly debated topic. I mean, I know I'm right, but I'd love to know in the comments what you do. Now, hey, if you've made it to the end of the video, I'm impressed because we have the ability to look at our statistics and not many of you stick around. So if you are one of the lucky ones, you are going to see my belly button. There it is. Let me know in the comments if you saw my belly button. Let's freak everyone else out. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.